is discussed and covered. It's part of American history, and I wanted to make sure my voice would be a part of that.
So did you believe 107 days was enough? Do you wish of course you wish you had more time, but do you think it was enough? And if not, do you think that any other Democrat could have pulled it off at 107 days?
It was not enough. I can't predict the outcome. We have lots of stars in our party. I'm sure that there are many people who would have done a great job. I can't predict what the outcome would have been.
Well, how do you, there were some Democrats that said that you don't take enough responsibility for the loss. How do you respond to that?
As I say many times in different ways in the book, the buck stopped with me. And I'm clear about that. And there were so many factors. You know, one of the aspects of those 107 days is important to remember as we go forward is that we have an individual in the White House, the President Trump, who in running for re-election made a lot of promises to the American people that he did not keep. I talk extensively about the fact he said that his main reason for running, and on day one, he was going to bring down prices. And I do believe a lot of people voted for him with that priority in mind. And look at where we are today. Inflation is up. The cost of food is up. Unemployment is up. He did not keep that promise to the American people. And we also need to remember those 107 days around some other stuff that he said. Mass deportations, that he would weaponize the Department of Justice against his political enemies, that he would silence critics. And he has done that consistently. Mass deportations, you know, somebody told me recently a story about a fellow they were talking with who was a big supporter of President Trump when he was running. He's a Floridian, he's Cuban descent. And he shared the story of how his life partner, his wife, is now in deportation proceedings to be sent to Sudan. And when asked, what happened? Why did you have so much support for him? He said, well, I believed what he said, that he was going to only go after criminals. So part of the reason that I have written this book is for us to remember that there is somebody in the White House right now that made a whole lot of promises that were either about what would aggrandize and help him met out his vengeance, or about lies he told to the American people that he obviously never intended to keep.
And let's talk about somebody who was in the White House with you,
yeah.
President Biden. I'm saying he believed that he insists that he would have won the race. So when you hear him say that, how does that make you feel?
I think that the reality of it is that for me, I'm not going to predict what didn't happen. The reality is, and listen, I talk about how difficult January 6th was for me of 2024, not to mention 2020,
yeah.
When I fulfilled my constitutional duty and responsibility as Vice President of the United States and President of the United States Senate to stand there as the former Democratic nominee for president and certify the election. Because I believe very strongly that in spite of all the other nonsense that might be coming out of my former opponent, I was not about to degrade the role of Vice President of the United States around acknowledging a free election and the peaceful transfer of power, which is part of the hallmark of who we have presented ourselves to be as the United States of America.
Well, you said in the book that's the hardest thing you had to do.
It's one of the hardest things I've ever had to do, Michael.
But there are so many people out there who felt that President Biden shouldn't have run for re-election. And you wrote in the book that it was, quote, Joe and Jill's decision, and other Democrats decided it was Joe and Jill's decision. But do you regret not voicing your opinion in that moment?
Yes, and I actually have reflected on that, and I've written about that. I realized
if you did.
I don't know. But I can only take responsibility for myself.
Mm-hmm.
And on reflection, and I talk about it in the context of asking a question of myself, was that grace to not bring it up to him, or was it reckless?